Yo, just making things ready. Make this public. Done. I forgot to change the thumbnail. Guess I do that. Swap to here. Pull this over. Let's start editing this video. Save snapshot. There we go. Change. Yeah. So another video. This one is an older video, but definitely still worth editing. There we go. Actually, that could be DIY instead of science and technology. Where is that? People and blogs. How to and style. Yeah, I guess. Alright. Got things going. Also, shout out to Indigo _ They subscribed to me yesterday. That was cool. I did implement some overlays, but it's only for one platform at the moment. I'll have to look into more detail of getting it running on both. So we'll see. Okay, that's public. Yeah, just gonna go over editing. I do this a lot. And that's it. I'm not saying I'm good at it or anything, but it's something I've done for a long time. So this is Magix Vegas Pro version 21. It's the editing program I'm most used to. It's pretty functional, but the specific version I have has some bugs. I'm considering getting the new one, but I want to wait and see what people's opinions are on it, because yeah, you know, it's an expense, but also I don't need more problems than I already have if it doesn't work well. Whoops. We'll see. If you're unfamiliar with video editing software, there's obviously different ways that it works. But in this specific program, you've got your media stuff here. So different folders. I have GoPro footage for this project. I've got the exported photos. I exported full-size JPEGs after editing them in Canon's digital professional software. I was curious to see how that would work. It was okay. I had to actually adjust the exposure of a lot of these photos for this photo walk. This is the Canon EOS M6 Mark II camera with the Sigma 60mm f1.4 lens. It's an APS-C lens. I don't have it anymore. This is all, like I said, this recording was back in 2022, and I've since moved on from the EFM system. So it's been sitting on my video work drive for, what, 3 years? Something like that. So, yeah. At this point, I did a voiceover, just talking to the camera. I also recorded a secondary audio track so that it's a higher quality than the built-in one with OBS. Not really necessary, but generally better when I do that. So let me increase this. I might have to run noise reduction on the other track. We'll see. So I'm just going to keep this clip in case that adjusts. Well, it's bigger than I had expected. in case I adjust things later on. Get rid of this with the audio, then I'll apply it to this area as well. Yeah, so you've got your preview window up top. There's different forms of it. Sometimes there's like 2 screens, different way to do it. I prefer right now just this setup. It's functional. Yeah, so you got your preview screen. You can zoom in this application if you need to. Lots of other functions and features up here. You can actually duplicate the preview on a secondary screen, but I'm using all the screens for other stuff. Like, I've got a tiny little screen down here. I actually would like to get a bigger one for the chat windows. And then the screen over here has OBS and the streaming views of Twitch and YouTube. So that's cool. Yeah. To this point, I did the voiceover. I used one of my scripting tools to trim it. It's not perfect, but it helps a little bit. I'm going to basically cover the vast majority of this with footage. So it's just, yeah. I probably don't even need to have my face there, but I might use a few clips when I'm visibly shown. We'll see. Obviously, I don't have the equipment anymore, so I can't show any additional stuff to that. If I really wanted to, I could probably look in my video projects and find that combination of camera and lens and probably have some hands-on footage from that. We'll see. But that'll take extra time and not necessarily provide a ton of value. But at this point, I need to go through this voiceover and remove mistakes like bad speaking or whatever. So that's not super exciting, but it is what it is. Like I said, I used one of my scripts built into here now. So I've got the remove silence script. This is based on another YouTuber's idea of how to make it work with Magix Vegas Pro. I could try to pull up his channel if you're interested in doing scripting for this program. Let's see. Try this. Switch to my programming account. I always forget what his channel name is. And oddly enough, he doesn't rank super high in the search for this, which is really odd. Okay, it's Jet DV Scripts. Yeah, so if you're interested in doing programming, scripting for Vegas Pro, he's definitely the best resource. But at this point, AI, if it's provided with enough context, it's good. So that's basically what I've been doing mostly. But yeah, if you want a lot of good, high quality tutorials on doing the scripting with that stuff, check him out. But yeah, he has a playlist specifically for Vegas stuff. Let's see, 241 videos. And I mean, this program is, that's a bad screen. This program is, I guess, niche, sadly. But yeah, his viewership is not amazing on here. I mean, some of it's decent-ish, but some of them not so much. Yeah, 200 over 200. That's very nice. Anyways, this is what I used on my footage to do that, and like I said, it was based on one of his scripts, but I had modified it and such. So at this point, I'm just going to go through this, try to remove all the stuff that I don't need, and I'll start marking it. I have another script in this program where when I add markers to this, I can export them basically and put them in my YouTube video. So that splits up the YouTube video into sections. But you definitely need a one at 00 for it to work on YouTube. Join me on a photo walk at a beautiful Japanese-style garden with a Canon EOS M6
Mark II and a Sigma 60mm f1.4 lens. Most equipment is discontinued at this point, so keep that in mind. You should be able to find it used in your area, but yeah, sadly EFM has basically gone away.
Delete that. Still need to trim it here and there, so it's a little smoother. See what time it is. Okay. In your area.
But yeah.
So it was like a mouth sound. Expand this a little bit. In your area, but I thought I heard a mouse sound. Use in your area, but yeah, maybe sadly EFM has basically gone away. It is
discontinued at this point, so keep that in mind. You should be able to find it used in your area, but yeah, sadly EFM has basically gone away. I recorded this back in 2022. It's been sitting.
I don't need that. Use
in your area, but sadly EFM has basically.
Save a copy with this program. Definitely save often. Way. I recorded
this back in 2022. It's been sitting on my work drive for a long time at this point, but still, I did enjoy using the equipment at the time. I don't have any of it anymore. So if
you have any comments or questions about camera gear, I'm open to listening and providing some feedback. Won't necessarily know about what you're interested in, but I'll try. Is this working? Yeah, it looks kind of like it's working. All right. Been trying to do more editing streams on here on YouTube, but I do multi-streaming now. Work
drive for a long time at this point, but still, I did enjoy using the equipment at the time. I don't have any of it anymore. So if you have very specific questions, I don't think I'll be able to answer. I'll just refer you to any manuals that are online for the camera and such. I was using the silver version.
Oh, it just crashed. Speaking of crashing programs, let me make sure that it's not stuck in memory. I don't think it would at this point. Oh man, my voice. To check, you can go into Task Manager in Windows and then search on the program. Yeah, it's not in there. So this Vegas Pro has different ways of crashing. Sometimes it just stops rendering out video, but this one was a hard crash, which is forced shutdown means it's not going to be stuck in memory. All right. At least it opened relatively quickly. Okay, so I lost the second tag for lens.
Most equipment is discontinued at this point, so keep that in mind. You should be able to find it used in your area, but sadly EFM has basically gone away. I recorded this back in 2022. It's been sitting on my work drive for a long time at this point, but still, I did enjoy using the equipment at the time. I don't.
Yeah, the M6 Mark II was a nice camera. It's obviously still available. Put that into auto mode. But I have to buy it used at this point. Don't think I need that. Actually, maybe I should downgrade the resolution while I'm editing. Who knows? With this program, it loves to crash, so who knows? For a
long time at this point, but still, I did enjoy using the equipment at the time. I don't have any of it anymore. So if you have very specific questions, I don't think I'll be able to answer. I'll just refer you to any manuals that are online for the camera and such. I was using the silver version of the
Yeah, I'll just delete that. All right, I'm gonna save it. Using the silver
version of the M6 Mark II. I had the silver and the black one at one point. Very nice camera. I'm not gonna go too much. I'm not going to go into.
So now I see where I actually the Sigma EFM version of the 60mm f1.4 contemporary with the Sigma black one at one
point. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on the camera this time, more so on the lens.
There we go. With the Sigma EFM
version of the 60mm f1.4 contemporary lens. It's a very unique.
I think I messed up here. And they do have this lens on various mounts, but you do need to keep in mind that it is
different between them. For the settings with this
the camera settings, I was using aperture. Maybe I didn't separate it properly. I don't do a script. I just talk based off of notes, basically, just notes. And I'm looking at the notes a little bit and just trying to come up with something in the moment based off of that. For the settings with this camera,
for the camera settings, I was using aperture priority.
It's difficult to pronounce things. For the camera
settings, I was using aperture priority with a minimum shutter speed of for the settings on this photo walk. I was using
Yeah. Behind the scenes, I guess. Spot autofocus. I did have video stabilization, which will crop. I know that I get back into the lens stuff. And this camera does not have sensor-based stabilization. I didn't do much processing to the photos. I was using Canon's digital photo with the CR3 RAW photos. I set automatic for. I exported those RAWs. Man. It's gotta be here in I can't talk now either. It has to be in here somewhere. Onto the garden. Bad weather can often be great for photography. Kind of worried with this combination considering it's not bad weather. So sometimes the first take is okay, but usually the last take is the best one. I did have a microfiber
cloth with me, which kind of helped deal with some of it, but still, it was a little concerning. Everything was fine afterwards. Just made sure to wipe off and air out the lenses. I was sure.
Oh man, aired out everything and certain that there wasn't any water anywhere that shouldn't be. So it is a risk, especially with this equipment. This specific version of the 60mm. Yeah, okay, right here. EFM version of the 60mm
f1.4 contemporary lens. It's a very unique combination. It's relatively large, which isn't ideal, but you still get a decently wide field of view. And they do have this lens on various mounts.
This might be a bit of a duplication, we'll see. But yeah, I can reorder things to make it a little bit more logical. So delete that for the moment. ideal, but
you still get a decently wide field of view. They do have this lens on various mounts, but you do need to keep in mind that it is different between
with the Sigma
EFM version of the 60mm f1.4 contemporary lens. It's a very unique combination. It's relatively large, which isn't ideal, but you still get a decently wide field of view. They do have this lens on various mounts, but you do need to keep in mind that it is different between them. This
specific version
of the 60mm lens does not have a weather-resistant gasket on the mount. The Canon EFM version of this Sigma 60mm lens,
that's a duplication. The Canon EFM
version of this Sigma 60mm lens does not have a gasket on the back mount area. They specifically take note of that. The Canon EFM version of the Sigma...
See how many times I redid it. I don't understand why they weren't able to do that, but maybe it was just a physical limit. They specifically take note of that compared to the other versions of this lens for different mounts. I don't understand why they weren't able to do that. All right. So that's the Canon EFM version
of this Sigma 60mm lens does not have a gasket on the back mount area. They specifically take note of that. The Canon EFM version of
the Canon EFM
version of the Sigma 60mm lens does not have a gasket in the mount area.
The mount area. Sigma
60mm lens does not have a gasket on the back mount area.
I don't know which one's better. I don't know. In the mount area, gasket on the back mount area. Probably the first one. They specifically take note of that compared to the
other versions of this lens for different mounts. I don't understand why they weren't able to do that, but maybe it was just a physical limitation of this combination. So if you do care about the weather-resistant gasket, about the weather-resistant gaskets and you're on...
There's a web page for this. I can take a screenshot of it. Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. Whoa. Must have clicked on something. Where does it say that? Okay. Yeah, their font is so small. There we go. So there is an asterisk up here somewhere. Or is it? Oh. I don't know. It's there somewhere. Go like this. Window. There we go. Oh, how's it going? Why Premiere Pro saves huge file sizes? This is Vegas Pro, so it's not Adobe software. This is from the company Magix. Used to be owned by Sony, but yeah, separate software. I'm not sure. I haven't used Premiere in probably 20 years, something like that. Sorry, I can't help you with that. Let's see. I assume maybe you're talking about rendering the videos out that way. Like I said, I don't know specifically how Premiere does things, but you should check your encoding settings if the files are really massive when you're exporting. Generally, H.264 or H.265 is what you'd want to use on YouTube. but I have seen some videos recently, specifically by a YouTuber named Gerald Undone. He has a video about encoding for YouTube, and the test that he did, H.264 encoding type, which is the older one, is actually better for YouTube because there's less conversion and stuff. I don't want to get into the details, but that one would be fine. So, and then you do like 1080p or 4K export, and then the bit rates. You can do a continuous bit rate, or at least on YouTube, variable bit rate would probably be fine. And I mean, then that's where potentially it would be large files if you do a really high bit rate, but you don't need to do too much, just under like 10,000 for that number. Or it depends on what its formatted is as in Premiere. So you'd have to look that up. I think I have to adjust my chat situation because I can't really read the tiny little screen I've got for it at my sitting distance. It's like 4 or 5 inch screen, and I have 2 different chat windows. Oh well. I don't know if I can change the font size. That's a little bit better. But then it changes the font size of my other windows. That's... Guess it's probably fine if I leave that. Alright. With the Sigma EFM
version of the 60mm f1.4 contemporary lens. It's a very unique combination. It's relatively large, which isn't ideal, but you still get a decently wide field of view. They do have this lens on various mounts, but you do need to keep in mind that it is different between them. The Canon EFM version of this Sigma 60mm lens does not have a gasket on the back mount.
Alright, I took a screenshot. So I use Affinity Photo 2 as an alternative to Photoshop. It has probably a lot of the same or similar functions to it. This one is paid, but it's per license rather than a subscription. So I don't know if this is really worth doing here, this, but I can highlight this and then change the color of it. Maybe yellow. Then also change the opacity of it. And I can also copy the web page link. Need this. The problem is captions show up down here, so maybe that's not the best spot for that. Oh, come on. There we go. I'll just put it here. I want to be a little bit consistent, so let me see what font is default for this. For Dana. All right, that should be fine. Switch to face cam for a second. Save this thing. Mm. Go. Oops. Export. Just do 1080p. I still use 1080p screens. So, oops, that's PNG. I guess it's fine. Yeah. And I can pull that into here. It's a simple drag and drop from the project folder, the PNG. They do have this lens on various mounts, but you do need to
keep in mind that it is different between them. The Canon EFM version of this Sigma 60mm lens does not have a gasket on the back mount area. They specifically take note of that compared to the other versions of the...
Whoops, I've got my auto ripple on. What this feature does is that it moves clips backwards when you delete stuff, but it also is frustrating to toggle on and off constantly. Let's get on the back
mount area. They specifically take note of that compared to the other versions of this lens for different mounts. I don't understand why they weren't.
So that's good enough for now. Just a physical
limitation of this combination. So if you do care about the weather-resistant gasket and you're on EFM, sadly, it does not have that. For quite a few photos,
let's see. For quite a few of didn't do a ton at f1.4, but for quite a
few of the photo opportunities on this photo walk, I did take pictures at different apertures, so I'll go through those a little bit so you can see. Didn't do a ton at f1.4, but f2, f4, yeah, just trying to see if there is any noticeable difference between...
Trying to see if
there is any noticeable difference between them. Obviously, I was hand-holding the camera, so that will be...
a little pause here, some sort. See if
there is any noticeable difference between them. Obviously, I was hand-holding the camera, so that will be a large factor in...
a little mouse sound or something. So that will
be a large factor in image quality at times, depending on how shaky I was. But yeah, and the ISO will reflect the ISO and shutter speed will be a large factor in image quality at times, depending on how shaky I was. But yeah, the ISO and shutter.
Obviously, I was
hand holding the camera, so that will be a large factor in image quality at times, depending on how shaky I was. But yeah, the ISO and shutter speed will reflect the different apertures. So I wouldn't say this is a big helpful thing in regard to
large factor in image quality. Possible difference
between them. Obviously, I was hand holding the camera, so that will be a large factor in image quality.
The ISO and shutter speed
will reflect the different apertures. So I wouldn't say this is a big helpful thing in regard to looking at the image quality, but I will at least show you different photos, and I will show you some of the same...
the image quality photos and so I wouldn't say this is a big
helpful thing in regard to looking at the image quality photo.
I will show you some of the same scene at different apertures throughout the video. I will show you some of the... Man, struggling on this part. Just take note of the ISO and shutter speeds. Color this time of... for quite a few of the... color this photo walk was in October, actually kind of late, I believe, in that this photo walk
was in late October. I think it worked out well. There's still a lot of color at the time.
Of year. Color this time of year. This photo walk was... Whoops. Here we go. quality. I will
show you some of the same scene at different apertures throughout the video, different spots at the garden.
Color. This photo walk was in
late October. I think it worked out well. There's still a lot of color at the time. Beautiful color. I enjoy this time of year for that. I think it's great for outdoor photography. Obviously, depending on your region. You know, I'm in northern Illinois, so get that nice benefit of beautiful oranges and other colors from the leaves. Combine that with the rainy atmosphere, I think it worked out well. But at times, there still is a lot of green, and I wouldn't say those are as impressive looking, but with this lens, you do get a fair amount of detail. So if you want to check those out, you can. Considering this camera has an APS-C size sensor, 16mm lens.
Let me put this in the lens section again. Considering this camera
has an APS-C size sensor, 16mm lens, you're going to have a field of view on the specific combination of 79.9 degrees. So still relatively wide. Add to that the benefit that you can focus decently close.
Using the same words, so I didn't want to use the same word in two close-up sentences. There we go. You're going to have
a field of view on the specific combination of 79.9 degrees. So still relatively wide. Add to that the benefit you can focus decently close with this combination. This lens is pretty large. And still, you look at the minimum focus, the reproduction ratio is 1 to 9.9, which isn't bad for a wide-angle lens like this. And the minimum focus distance is 25 centimeters, or 9.8 inches. But then you look at the size of the lens, it's pretty big, so you're still focusing decently close to the front of the camera. You're still focusing decently close to the front of the lens.
I don't want people to misunderstand that. Yeah, so this is basically just what I gotta do is go over this 10 times and clean it up. After I'm done cleaning this portion up, I'm gonna go into here and find relevant bits of footage, photos that relate back to what I'm saying at the time. Yeah, basically that. Oops, let me fix this. Let's see if there's any new. I've got the PedText forums in a long time. A quick photo news break. Came out 50th anniversary shirt. Okay. Interesting. It's back in August. I have a GR4 article. I used to go on this forum a lot. Oh, how's it going? Oh, spam. Nice. Let me block that person. Ban. Is it ban? Nope, I can't do it on that. I'm not logged into my OBS Twitch. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, I used to go on here a lot back when I was using Pentax. A lot of great information for Pentax users. They have they've got a review system for the lenses. A bunch of older film era stuff. I like M42 mount, the screw mount. So this would be good to browse at some point again, see what potential options they've got. I used to have the Super Chacomar 50, but it was it was radioactive, and I didn't want to keep it around anymore. because it irradiated the lens filter I had on it. And I bought a Geiger counter at one point. I still have it. And it was 1 SV per hour, which to me it seems pretty high. Or 1 micro SV, whatever it's called. So maybe in reality it's not a lot, but it seemed like a lot. So if I do get more old film era lenses, if it's super radioactive, I get rid of it. So there are some of the 50s that are not, apparently, but the one that I had was supposed to be one that wasn't, but it was. Because I had the one that I had was the fewer elements, I think, which was supposed to be like an earlier version of it, I think. I mean, I guess there's quite a few here. Yeah, 7 elements. And this, oh, well, I guess they all have 7 elements. Anyways, a lot of cool information on here. Let's see what else we've got. No new cameras. Laowa 180 millimeter 4.5 macro. It's probably pretty nice. Oh, it has autofocus on some mounts. Interesting. Let's see what else we got. Amateur photographer. He's Sony A7 something. 33 megapixels at the A7 IV. Top end full frame DSLR with lens. Okay. I think they still have a magazine. Not totally sure. Okay, yeah, I guess I do. Anyways. Let's see what B&H has going. We got the red Nikon camera. Or Nikon. The C50 from Canon. Yeah, I did a stream looking at all these. I haven't seen whatever this is. Looks expensive. T2.1. How is it? So these are video focus camera lenses with the I don't know, what is that called? For additional things to adjust focus externally. Let's see. I haven't been into lighting much these days. Obviously, I have continuous constant lights for my setups here. This one is Viltrox branded one. And I actually swapped the fan inside. I don't know if I ever made a video about that. But if I had done it, or I will do it, it'll be on the tech channel. Let's see what else we got. Adorama. Beginner's Guide to Lens Filters. Let's see if they mention any unique styles. UV filters, polarizers, neutral density, graduated, color filters. So adjusting white balance, doing black and white. Special effects filters. So they didn't mention the hazy ones, which seems to be popular in the video world, at least. And I think there's also ones that do like stronger, sharper sunstars and things. Tamron news. September 10th. So that was 6 days ago. 25 to 200, 2.8 to 5.6, 200, 5.6. That's decent-ish. On the long end. So they have a picture of it. Yeah. Looks expensive. For Sony E-mount, of course. There is a little bit of Tamron on Nikon mount. Nikon. I feel compelled to say it 3 ways every time I say their name at this point. I made a video a long time ago that I eventually deleted talking about the pronunciation of Nikon. I say it more like Europeans and such. Obviously Nikon is the America way of saying it. I am American, but I prefer the other way. And the true pronunciation in Japan is Nikon, 3 syllables. In katakana, it'd be 3 characters. Nikon. I can show an example. Oops, I do not want to translate. So it's these 3 up here. Nikon. Zoom. Oh, don't want that. Yeah, right here. So this is katakana. There's 3 different. I can't think of the term, but you have hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Kanji comes from China, I believe, but katakana is usually loan words. Obviously, Nikon is a made-up word for their company name. It might mean something. It probably means something. I don't know. I think it's Nikon, Nippon Kongaku, whatever. So, or Nihon, or Nippon, which is Japan, and then Kogaku, something like that, is company. Can't remember the specific pronunciation. So that's what their company name means, I think. You could look at Wikipedia and just verify. I have looked it up in the past, but memory is a difficult thing. There's that again. So it says... maybe this one does not go into the name of it. Yeah. So Nippon, which is another Nippon, I should say. And the two P's are like you hold the sound, I think. Same thing with this O with the line over it. Kogaku Tokyo. So that's where it comes from. There's Nihon, Nippon, but that's basically referring to Japan. I'm not really sure what the true difference is of the two words. Let's see. Oh. Let's see. Let's see what the AI says. Nippon or Nihon are two pronunciations of the same kanji. Both meaning Japan, translated land of the rising sun. Generally, Nihon is used in everyday context, while Nippon is often used in formal settings and during sporting events. Okay. Yeah, so it's different pronunciations for the same kanji. Obviously, kanji can have different pronunciations. That's part of the challenge of memorizing that stuff. So this one is sun, and I guess that's the other part. I don't know what that kanji is. Rising. Means tree. I should have known that. Book. Moto. Mato. Go. Book. So maybe the combination changes it. I guess I could paste this entire thing. No. It's not going to have the company name. Anyways. Little language lesson, I guess. I'm no expert. I'm just old and like Japan. Yeah. What time is it? Okay. Can't do too long of a stream here. This photo walk was
in late October. I think it worked out well. There's still a lot of color at the time. Beautiful color. I enjoy it this time of year for that. It's great for outdoor photography, obviously depending on the region. You know, I'm in northern Illinois, so get that nice benefit of beautiful oranges and other colors from the leaves. Combine that with the rainy atmosphere, I think it worked out well. At times there still is a lot of green, and I wouldn't say those are as impressive looking, but with this lens, you do get a fair amount of detail. So if you want to check those out, you can.
At times there's
a lot of green, and I wouldn't say those are as impressive looking, but with this lens, you do get a fair amount of detail. So if you want to check those out, you can.
It's probably not a needed part. Considering this camera
has an APS-C size sensor, 16mm lens, you're going to have a field of view on the specific combination of 79.9 degrees. So still relatively wide. Add to that the benefit you can focus decently close with this combination. This lens is pretty large. And still, you look at the minimum focus, the reproduction ratio is 1 to 9.9, which isn't bad for a wide-angle lens like this. And the minimum focus distance is 25 centimeters, or 9.8 inches. But then you look at the size of the lens, it's pretty big, so you're still focusing decently close.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to clip. But then you look at the size of the lens, it's pretty big. You're still focusing decently close to the 9.8 inches. You've got 9 aperture blades in the lens. But then you look at the size of the lens, it's pretty big. so you're still focused. The lens is pretty big, so the size of the lens is pretty big. You're still focusing decently. You're big. You're well, but then you look at the size of the lens, centimeters or 9.8 inches. Even little pauses are weird in the results, so tend to remove those. Like weird sounding. Although sometimes if you clip it too much, it gets too much. This combination, whoops, it's decently
close with this combination. This lens is pretty large, and still, you look at the minimum focus, the reproduction ratio is 1 to 9.9, which isn't bad for a wide-angle lens like this, and the minimum focus distance is 25 centimeters, or 9.8 inches, but then you look at the size of the lens, it's pretty big. You're still focusing decently close to the front of the lens.
Just delete that. Or 9.8
inches, you're still focusing decently close to the front of the lens. You've got 9 aperture...
Yeah, I think that's fine. You're still focusing
decently close to the front of the lens. You've got 9 aperture blades in the lens, and of course it goes from f1.4 to f16. f1.4 gives you a lot of options for what you want to do artistically based on aperture. However, it is challenging to use considering it's a relatively wide-angle lens. I tend to like getting closer to subjects with this lens. I think it's a great option for this style of photography, walking around beautiful nature situations. Getting up close, you'll still get those nice blurred out backgrounds. With the aperture range, I don't know, using f1.4 might be even a little too extreme if you're close enough. So I tended to use f2, f2.8. Things like that, so there's still decent amount in focus up close. I do have a lot of examples of that on this photo walk. Beautiful leaves, a lot of color, nice amount of detail. I'll get up close on some of them, I'll zoom in so you can see what it looks like up close. Obviously, shutter speeds could factor into the equation. Yeah, just know that it won't be perfect, but it won't be perfect, but I do tend to move pretty quickly, take snapshots, things like that. This is not a scientific thing, it's more of an enjoyment thing. And also, keep in mind that this Canon camera has...
I'll have to clip all that up. It's very jumpy. Also keep in mind that this
Canon camera has a lot of resolution to it for that size of sensor, so I wouldn't go too hard on the image quality of the lens. I do really enjoy getting up close with...
see if I can somehow color this photo. Let me take this. I do really enjoy getting up close. Too hard on the image quality of the lens. I do really enjoy. There we go. I do really enjoy
getting up close with this lens, but it is, I think, also very good for standard landscape style photography where the subjects are further out. I did try to do a bit of that at the garden. I think it worked out okay, but I was having some challenges keeping things straight throughout those style of photos. It's a little difficult to see on the screen, but maybe in situations where you can use a tripod, I'd say consider doing that. Obviously, at this garden, it's not possible, but still, I think I got some of the photos decent for those more traditional landscape pictures. This lens is surprisingly versatile considering it's a prime lens, relatively wide field of view. Getting up close is great. I do prefer that. Doing the standard landscape style photos also can work out. It might be an interesting option for astrophotography and such. I haven't done that, and sadly I don't have this equipment anymore, but maybe something versatile considering it's a prime lens, relatively wide field of view. Getting up close is great. I do prefer that.
How do you spell versatile? field of view.
Getting up close is great. I do prefer that. Doing the standard landscape style photos also can work out. It might be an interesting option for astrophotography and such. I haven't done that, and sadly I don't have this equipment anymore, but maybe something to at least look into if you're curious. I don't know how it would work with those strong point source plus. I don't know how it would work in practice.
I don't know how it... Yeah, it could have aberrations and stuff that are not ideal for that style of photography. Right. See if anyone has talked about it online. Whoops. Don't want that. Let's see who... No response, sadly. Like saying using it on a full frame camera for some reason. So this is like a sponsored post or something on Sigma's own website. Or maybe one of their photographers or whatever they're called. Yeah, was it the 23 1.4? I mean, it looks fine. Can't really tell, obviously, in the corners and stuff. Okay, that's a company. I mentioned astrophotography. So this person has used it. Oh, Sigma might not be great in the corners. Okay. So there's one person using it. Wider is not better, according to them. Oh, yeah, that looks rough on the corners. Yeah, I think it'd be fine, but depends on a person's expectation, I guess. At least look
into if you're curious. I don't know how it would work in practice for that use case, but maybe something to at least do some research on. Yeah, I love going out doing simple photography.
I'm gonna have to adjust a lot of this and like reposition it. So I'm trying to structure it where the lens stuff will be more containerized in its own section. I love going out doing
simple photography like this, walking around, taking photos. This combination works great for my personal style of this type of photo walk. Really enjoyed it. Nice calm atmosphere. Taking pictures, it's a good facilitator for going out, getting some exercise, enjoying the time. All that said, really nice combination of gear, pretty compact, functional. I like Sigma lenses. I wish I could use more of them. I'm currently using a lot of Nikon gear, and sadly Sigma full frame is not on the system. Hopefully in the future, if you see this, Nikon, consider adding Sigma full frame to the mount. It'd be great. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this photo walk of a beautiful Japanese style.
I mean, technically this lens is on Z mount. So at the very least, people can get that. Well, there is a slight premium to the price, at least for the moment. It's probably because of the really large diameter for the Z mount, or Z mount, as some people might say. That's honestly, that's probably my least liked thing about using Nikon equipment is the flippant pronunciation of their company name, and then the letter that they chose to use for their mount, because they have different pronunciations in different regions of English. So Z and Z. And then Nikon. Canon is just Canon, right? I don't think it's anything else. And they use R, Canon RF, which R is difficult to pronounce in Japanese. It's gonna have an L and an R together. But for English speakers, it's not difficult. What was I gonna do? Oh. Yeah, so it's $510. If we look at one of the other mounts, like the Sony, $485. Although it's technically discounted. Just, yeah, I guess this is technically discounted too, but just more expensive. $489. Leica L mount. EFM still exists. That's nice. $489. And the RF mount. They don't even have a proper picture of it. That can't be right. It's probably just a generic one. Like L does have a lip on it as well, but not as big as the Nikon one. This dude is a wide boy. Oops. Cooperate. Yeah. Kind of goofy looking. I mean, I guess it doesn't look terrible here when it's attached to a camera. So that's the Z50. That's a decent-ish looking combination. Yeah, it is a big lens for what it is. Nikon APS-C doesn't really appeal to me. Although I did use the Z30 for quite a while. It was fine for photos, but for video it kept overheating on me. And the only mode that would not overheat on me was 1080p 30. And that defeats the purpose of having the camera because it's supposed to do 4K. But it does 4K, but it's just not consistent with longer recordings. Even just outputting through the HDMI port, like if I wanted to use it as a webcam, it would overheat in 1080p 60 and 4K. But like I said, it didn't, at least for me, it didn't overheat in 1080p 30. So that was at least good. But why have it if it's so limited for what I do? Hopefully, they'll make a revised version of it that's more consistent. They obviously just released or technically just announced the ZR. And sadly, that does not have a fan in it. But it, from what I've seen, Potato Jet, he put it in a 104-degree Fahrenheit device. Do you remember what it's called? But it did overheat for him in that thing. But 104 degrees is very hot. Although there are definitely situations where it would apply. So that's not ideal for some people, but the camera's probably fine for most people. And then just indoor stuff, I think it'd be fine. I do like the camera, but the design is odd. Like their ergonomic choices are really weird, some of them. It's smaller than I feel like it should have been for what they're trying to do and how they're trying to market this thing. Obviously, the HDMI port is the micro, which makes no sense. It should be standard size. The battery door, the memory cards are down there. Again, this makes no sense for what they're trying to market this camera as, a cinema camera. Very limited buttons and things, which is fine generally. It does have the big screen, which is cool, but I feel like if someone's really going to get into higher end video stuff, they'll probably use an external screen a lot of the time, unless they're specifically doing more mobile stuff. And I feel like this camera was probably a vlog camera intended to like be marketed as a vlogging camera, but then they shifted the direction of the camera more into the Red thing once they acquired Red, and which is fine. It's cool adding more features in the raw video and all that. But personally, in situations I'd struggle to justify using super high bitrate raw video. I'm trying to think of who I saw. They mentioned the bit rates on it. Maybe there's a spec page I can look at. I think I'm done editing for today. I mean, not today, but for this stream. Probably ends relatively soon here. But let's see. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd definitely take a few of these if I could get them and use them for what I do. But kind of my quote-unquote job is to analyze how things are designed and give people perspectives of how it could be used in one way. Like, does it make sense to be like this? That's kind of the direction that I go with my videos and stuff relating to camera equipment. So this is a news article. It's not really what I'm looking for here. I guess I could look at their marketing material, see if it makes sense. So 6K is great. I think this is a pretty reasonable resolution to offer. And it has that R3D Nikon edition RAW format. And then if we can look at the bit rates on it. Oops. Why is this so massive? So they have the Z30 on the top. Okay. Here it is. They put it on the bottom for some reason. Technical specs. Come on. Yeah, this is a very, very awesome feature. 32-bit float recording. Man, their website's very jumpy. 24 megapixel approximately sensor. It is using the Z6 III sensor, which potentially has some downsides in the lower ISO ranges for dynamic range, but it's possible that using raw video in this would mitigate some of it. I'm not sure. I'll have to wait and see, like, people that have the camera and can test it in detail for stuff like that. Because the Z6 III, from what I've seen, has like almost a stop of downside compared to the more traditional sensors that are not partially stacked. So hopefully this works out well for them and they'd start doing more video focused cameras, because I feel like they could make a similar one to this, make it bigger, use the sensor from the Z9, Z8, which has a better readout and it's a fully stacked sensor. But I think it's higher resolution too, so there might be downsides. I'm not sure. But let's see. It's a photo thing. Yeah, it does not have a mechanical shutter, but this sensor is pretty fast, so probably not an issue for most people. I'm not really sure what flash shutter speeds you could manage with this thing. Do they mention flash sync speed? Why would they not mention flash sync speed? Because it's fully capable of working as a photo camera. Maybe not ideal, but it should work. I kind of doubt that information is available at the moment. Do they have a manual? Product forum? Maybe on the support page. Yeah, it's not available, so that's probably just still being worked on in some regard. Yeah, it does have the weird combination of memory card slots. Sadly, no Nikon cameras, as far as I know, can do the recording of video to both cards at the same time. I know people are saying, "Oh yeah, but my red or but my cinema camera only has one slot." That's great for you, but there's like no reason not to do it when it has two card slots. Little HDMI port. Mm. Yeah, the audio setup looks very good for this camera. I mentioned the log formats. I've never felt the need to do log recording, but it's nice as an option for people that are into it. It has the dual base ISO ranges for the sensor, so generally, from how I understand it, you'd want to pick one of these over the other ones that are close to it to get the best out of it. So ISO 800 or 6400. Still has the sensor-based stabilization, which is nice to see for a camera like this. Again, it feels more like a vlogging camera than a cinema camera. I mentioned this in my other stream on this camera, is that for actual cinema cameras, it can often be a bad thing to have sensor-based stabilization in the camera because they're going to rig it up how they need it to work. And if you're in high vibration situations like mounted to a car or something, it could be a problem to have sensor-based stabilization. But it depends on how it's implemented. Because if the camera really locks it down somehow physically, it might be fine. It'd just be up to people that have access to the camera and can test that type of use case. So I'm basically rehashing what I said in my other stream, but Canon doesn't have it. But I think that was a specific choice for them functionally to not have it in there with their C50 camera. This is nice that it does H.265 and 8-bit because there are quite a few cameras that don't have that. So for me personally, this might be a nice in-camera recording option. But one of the issues is that it has the CF Express Type B, which is good, but also irritating because they're probably expensive. Let me see how much they cost. Memory cards. So you'd have to tack on at the very least. I mean, that's a big card. $130. Let's see. I don't know how much raw video you can get on 512 gigabytes, but I would not want to have a project that's 512 gigabytes of video data. I mean, I've had some that are into the 100 or 200 gigabytes. And even then, that's a lot. I think I have a project on here that's I still have things that I could do with it for my technology channel. Let's see. Trying to remember what the file name or folder name was. Yeah, I don't see it in there. Basically, it was just a big set of projects for my computer build. Oh, that's not it. It was in 2024, 12. Here we go. Properties. Okay, so this one's 136 gigabytes, and I could still do some stuff for this set of like source data. Yeah, so that's for me that's a lot. And backing this up and saving the project is, you know, multiply that by hundreds of videos, 1,000 plus. My larger YouTube channel has over 1,000 videos. The tech channel has 86 at the moment. I would like to do more for that. I have 2 recording things for the tech channel that I can work on. But I'll probably stream on that one when I edit those videos instead of this channel. Anyways, I'm going to head out. Yeah, $80 for a $110. So if you're getting this camera or a similar camera with this memory card format, I think you really need to factor in the cost of cards. And then do you really want to use just one card and rely on one card? I don't know, at these prices, I feel like you'd have to get 2 of them, 2-pack for $260. Obviously 512 gigabytes big, but then you're going to be using one card more and more, or at least in this case 2 cards. You're going to be putting more wear and tear on a single or 2 cards. Yeah, this one's even more expensive. So that's $230 for one card. 1 terabyte, 310. And if you're doing raw video, you know, you're probably going to want something big. $128 gigabytes or 160 each. And also, if you buy cheaper cards, are they as reliable as the more expensive ones? That's the question as well. See if I can even. Okay, let's see how much the 4 terabytes are. So if you want a 4 terabyte CF Express Type B, $810. Now this one's $1,500. Red branded. Has 1 star review. That's great. This item cannot be returned. And they have $1,200 for a memory card. I don't know. Let's see. 64 gigabyte. So this should be the cheapest. Low price. $70 is the cheapest card. Really? Yeah. At least on here. That's the cheapest one. Man. So I mean, look at spending $100 on a memory card to go with your camera. I like standard SD cards, if at all possible. But I don't do raw video, so. Anyways, I'm gonna head out. Hope you enjoyed the stream. If you see it after the fact, just doing editing and things like that. I could switch to the face cam. I'm gonna be probably trying to do more streaming in general on YouTube and Twitch, of course, as I do the live streams on each. See where it goes. Yeah, I'm gonna head out. See ya. Peace.